My husband doesn't take a salary. He has no financial interest in any of this. I don't take a salary. I have no financial interest. I agree that these are matters that have to be handled with the greatest of care and transparency. The purpose of the agreement was to avoid even the appearance of a conflict because...
To avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest. That was 2009. Hillary Clinton responded to concerns over her connections to the Clinton Foundation after she was nominated as Secretary of State. Turns out those concerns were valid. Here to explain is John Bussey. He's the associate editor of the Wall Street Journal, your paper doing yeoman's work, tackling this. The Clinton campaign has said they've been transparent. They've been open and honest about this process. Were they transparent, or did you guys have to do extraordinary work to find out this information?
Yeah, this is work that's been done by James Grimaldi and Rebecca Ballhaus out of our Washington bureau. About a half a dozen stories on the Clinton Foundation this year, which they looked at the relationship between the Secretary of State and the activities of the Clinton Foundation. And they found a lot of, frankly, troubling overlap. And it was difficult data to get. It wasn't the most transparent of foundations. They had to write computer programs to essentially redigest the data to find out exactly how much was given and when it was given.
So let's talk about some of this overlap, because this is raising some eyebrows here. We'll put them up on the screen. These are Bill Clinton's speaking fees at the time that things were before the State Department. Let's take a few examples here and explain them. The UBS example, and Erickson at the top, Goldman Sachs also at the top. Why do those stand out?
Yeah, what James and Rebecca looked at the UBS example. This is when the State Department intervened, Hillary Clinton intervened, to help UBS essentially broker a deal with the Justice Department. Justice wanted to look at a lot of the secret accounts that UBS held abroad, thinking that people were evading taxes. Ultimately, UBS had to disgorge a certain amount of data, but nowhere near as much as that had been asked for. And the State Department, Hillary Clinton, was part of that relationship. Subsequently, UBS increases its contributions to the Clinton Foundation, becomes the biggest source of speech income for Bill Clinton.
What about the Abu Dhabi example? Because the Clinton campaign would say, look, we have an ethics panel, look at this, it's been cleared, nothing to see here, look away. Abu Dhabi, not a problem?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The State Department has an ethics panel. State Department spokesman said ethics panel looked at this, cleared it, said there wasn't a problem with it. These are career officers, served both Republican and Democratic administrations. But what are the specifics? In the case of Abu Dhabi, they wanted a facility to allow their state airline to clear passengers through the visa process before they got to the United States. That's a big plus. If you're a traveler overseas, you don't want to have to do that at JFK if you can avoid it. So it's a big plus for Abu Dhabi. The State Department was negotiating this relationship with Abu Dhabi. The unions were against it. The Chamber of Commerce was against it because no U.S. airline flies directly from Abu Dhabi to the U.S., wouldn't be able to take advantage of this. It would be a big benefit for the state airline of Abu Dhabi. Well, at the same time, Bill Clinton is invited to give a couple of speeches, one for $500,000 on climate change by Abu Dhabi organization, and then subsequently another $500,000 speech on tourism. And a week later, the facility goes into effect.
Exactly. So, big problem for Hillary Clinton going forward, or will any of this stick? She seems, water off a duck's back, it seems, with all of these scandals lately. And it takes Bernie Sanders to get up on stage and says, you know what, I'm tired of talking about your emails. Let's move on to other subjects.
That's right. And I'm not sure I'd put it in a category of scandal or corruption. There is no allegation of that. And in fact, the ethics panel has weighed in. But there are sort of ongoing ethics issues. The overlap between this very powerful foundation and people wanting to get influence with the Clintons, particularly with a person who was at the time Secretary of State, and now may be President of the United States. That creates a higher standard of expectation for how the Clinton Foundation conducts its business.
John Bussey, we appreciate you joining us from the Wall Street Journal. Thanks so much. Coming up here on the show, it's a story that will warm your heart. An elderly blind dog was abandoned at a shelter, left to die, but an amazing thing happened. He was adopted by one of the shelter's volunteers. Now that dog has found new life. That dog and his new owner join us live in moments.